Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to the Wednesday review. And as you can tell, you can see the t-shirt that I am wearing today, at least for this video, and probably for the next several reviews for at least Wednesday. Again, if you haven't seen my Unearthed Mail episode, it came from Doomsday, then you'll know why, which then it leads into today's review, since it's been a while actually since I reviewed anything from, of course, Doomsday's Today Records. But since that package, I am back to it for every Wednesday. So today, since it's at least still a pretty recent release, or at least reissue on, of course, Paul of Doomsday's Today Records, his label here, well, it is a pretty old release, but it's also a reissue of another really older release in itself. It is the only thing released from Lord of Shit. It is Baptism by Fire, which originally was released in 2000, but obviously here it didn't get at least reissued on at least cassette here. I got the Bandcamp page up July 3rd, 2020, again, just last year. So, again, to kind of go into a little backstory, Lord of Shit originally went under the name Asystole, and I hope I pronounce that correctly, because it's pronounced Asystole. Asystole. Yeah. They apparently, and they were formed, since I got the Metal Archives page up here, they were formed all the way back in 1990. Again, they were all, basically Lord of Shit 2 here, Denver, Colorado. But they released about 2 demos from at least 1991 to 1993 before then just completely changing the name, and honestly probably not releasing anything until 2000. So I can't really look up the month at least or the day that this was originally released in 2000. But all I know is that this was originally released in 2000, and who knows if it was released on either cassette or CDR. Could have been CDR maybe back in 2000 maybe, which is why obviously the recording quality, at least for the audio, or at least the download on Bandcamp, is actually very good compared here on the cassette. That hopefully is not to be taken as a harsh jab. That's just personally me, because obviously I would like to always base my opinions off the actual basically the unaltered audio, basically everything, the original audio. But that's it. So here it is, Baptism by Fire from Lord of Shit. Let me get into basically from here into my thoughts on this cassette demo from Lord of Shit. So Baptism by Fire, let's get into it. Alright, so before we really get into any of my personal thoughts on this demo, you know what I have to do? I have to do a track listing rundown so I can tell you folks what are the songs on this album, how many songs are on this demo. I said album, but on this demo, and what is the time length for this demo. And since we have at least about 3 songs for this demo, which again, pretty typical and of at least any track listing for a demo, and of course its time length is clocking at 11 minutes. So again, that's it is obviously typical time length for a demo. Most of the time, usually longer songs or more songs, but a 3-track demo, and for the time length being 11 minutes, that pretty much says about right. So these 3 songs here, of course, go from Life Arcane. I think, obviously, I always have a problem for some fucking reason pronouncing that. I know it makes me sound like an uneducated idiot, but that's just me being really honest with you, okay? So you can always can correct me on what's the best way to pronounce the word arcane or arcane, whatever. Anyway, it goes into, of course, the title track, and then finally ending with Scrapped from the Courtyard. So there it is. There's your 3 songs, and to kind of go into, before we really get into even more of the music itself, again, these guys apparently were originally named Asystole, but the thing is, even the roots apparently go back to a band called Legion of Death, which again, the members being right here, since I'm on right here, Right here. Yeah, Mike McFarlane actually apparently is his name. Yeah, and he apparently was in a band called Legion of Death back in the '80s, and they were like a more of a punk kind of band or hardcore punk thrash kind of band. But obviously teaming up with let me from just looking through here, and Bob K. Obviously teaming up with this guy, they of course formed Asystole. But since of course after releasing their last demo, Earth Without Christ, they just decided to change their name to Lord of Shit. That's where we lead with this demo right here. And so, since I'm not really familiar with some of the earlier bands, basically within at least either Legion of Death or Asystole, I can't really base any sort of a really give you any good comparisons to at least that, or how anything evolved, basically how everything musically is basically compared to Asystole or any of those kind of bands. Any differences. I can't really use any sort of any of that. I can't. But all I can tell you is that just from a really new virgin listener, basically, to listening to this demo, all I can say is that musically they definitely fit in. They would have fit in right with the Florida death metal scene in the early '90s, everything to the early to mid '90s, along with bands like either Deicide and Cannibal Corpse and maybe Cancer. And those kind of bands, any bands that maybe play that obviously recorded their stuff at basically the Morris Sound studios and Florida, so they would have fit in right. That also Sepultura, really definitely more so somewhere between maybe like Beneath the Remains or a little bit of like a Schizophrenia, a little bit in there, and that kind of sound. I can get a little bit of that. Again, the stuff that might have been recorded at either More Sound, but I get a little bit of Schizophrenia almost in there. But again, it is still very much rooted within, of course, the classic Florida death metal sound from the early '90s. But I can also get even comparison to even like the Milwaukee scene, actually, too. Of death metal, like bands like maybe like Mortiscold, for example. I can probably compare them to that, or even the Oregon scene too, with like Demise. I can hear a lot of comparisons to that. Everything's just got a really almost, it is very guttural in terms of either vocal performances, but for the most part, everything does have that. It is just grotesque in its overall performance. They don't let up with any of these three songs. They are obviously at full force, and they definitely don't fuck around. It's all got that same sort of energy, but it's not like fast for the sake of being fast. It has a very methodical feel, but also there's an absolute chaos, and it's just absolutely brutal in its way, but not trying to be brutal death metal like Suffocation, but it's just has that almost early sort of just straight up gnarly atmosphere. And everything just sounds great. It is very much early death metal. For something from 2000, you would mistake this for something that might have been released in 1991 or 90 or 92. It just has that sound to it. Everything's great. Obviously, since there's three songs, I can't really pick out a sole favorite, because each song is fantastic. It's just fucking great on here. This is a great, solid death metal demo. Everything, again, I love the old school feel of this one. Again, I just love the overall power. I love the overall, just the performance and everything, and the writing half the time. It's death metal. It's not rocket science. But since I love that early stuff, again, like either Autopsy and that and Death, I like that stuff. And this right here, it's got that sound. It's very similar. Just listen to at least any of these three songs, actually, like either the title track or Scrap from the Courtyard, or the first track, Life Arsane. Any of these three songs are just a good example of the overall ferociousness and the barbaricness of at least that early days of death metal that was coming out of Florida and either in Milwaukee or Oregon, out of that, or even outside of the United States. It's got that overall feel, and it's just fucking great. There's nothing bad here. This is definitely some just great, gnarly grotesque, in your face, no bullshit, classic, straight to the bone, or stripped to the bone actually, fucking death metal. It is old school. It's great. It is definitely, if you like obviously bands like Cancer and either like early Cannibal Corpse and those kind of bands, I can't see you not liking this demo from at least them. I can't see you not. It is great. So there we go. There it is, folks. There's my overall thoughts on at least the debut, or at least the only demo here from Lord of Shit. And I'm not going to give it a rating just because of it's an early release. In general, it is an early recording, but it is still an early release from 2020. And to me, to give ratings to at least older releases, half the time it seems kind of not just. I don't know. Almost it seems like an oxymoron half the time. It doesn't seem really. I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with that. So I'm not going to give it a rating, but I am definitely going to recommend this to you because I think it's definitely worthy of being at least listened by those who like the old school death metal stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, of course, leave you a page to, or at least a link to, of course, Doomsday's Today Records page. We can listen to it. Who knows? Whenever this will be made available. Hopefully for you guys to actually purchase. If you got cassette decks and whatnot or players, you can, or even have a car that still has, or a truck that has a cassette player. If you do, and if you like that old school death metal sound, definitely go on and buy this, and I recommend it. But you can still sample it, and listen to it on Bandcamp, and I think it's definitely worthy of your time. So there we go. Thank you to, of course, Paul of Doomsday's Today Records for sending his own, just sending this out to me. Basically, thank you. So with that, hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrash saying I'm out. I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.